Don't ignore this. Your life will change when this happens. I say it again because most people hear a truth only when it is repeated with the force of a hammer. Don't ignore this. Your life changes the moment you begin to notice the mysterious, the intuitive, the spiritual dimension that has been whispering to you like a forgotten wind behind your daily noise. And yet, you pretend it is nothing. You call it coincidence. You call it imagination. You call it nonsense. But somewhere inside you know it is a doorway. And I am telling you, when that doorway opens, if you dare to step through it, nothing in your life will remain the same. People come to me and say, "Osho, I feel something strange, something I can't explain." And I laugh because of course you can't explain it. You have been trained your whole life to explain everything, to categorize everything, to destroy mystery with understanding. You were taught that intuition is a mistake, spirituality is a fairy tale, and that only the logical mind deserves your loyalty. But logic is a skeleton. It can hold the shape of something, but it cannot give you life. Life comes from the mysterious, from the unseen, from the silent music playing underneath your thoughts. When I tell you not to ignore this, I am not giving you advice. I am warning you. Because when that inner whisper becomes louder than the voice of society, then your life begins to turn upside down. You start to doubt what you once were certain of. You begin to see cracks in the world you thought was solid. The job you believed mattered begins to look like a cage. The relationships you clung to start to feel like borrowed clothing. The beliefs you repeated like a machine suddenly don't satisfy you anymore. And the most dangerous thing of all begins to happen. You start listening to yourself. This is what people fear the most. Not failure, not death, not even loneliness. The greatest fear is hearing your own inner voice, because once you hear it, you can no longer pretend you are blind. Once you hear it, you will no longer be able to live the same dull, mechanical life. Once you hear it, the mystery will enter you like a storm and clean everything you thought you knew. This is why I say don't ignore this, because this is the beginning of awakening. When you start becoming intuitive, when you start sensing things before they happen, when you feel the emotions of others without them speaking, when you walk into a room and immediately know the hidden tension beneath the smiles, this is not madness. This is not sensitivity. This is intelligence, a deeper intelligence than the one society rewards. The world praises the rational man because he is predictable, controllable. But the intuitive man cannot be controlled. He listens to a different authority, his own consciousness. You Americans, you live in a country that worships productivity, efficiency, logic, and certainty. But no soul has ever grown through certainty. Souls grow through doubt, through questioning, through an intimate dance with the unknown. Your entire culture fears anything that cannot be measured, weighed, or sold. That is why so many are spiritually starving. You have everything, yet you feel empty. You have information, yet no wisdom. You have noise, but no silence. And it is inside that silence where intuition blooms. You think mystery is something outside you, something hidden in ancient books, exotic rituals, remote temples. But mystery is not out there. It is within your very breath. If you sit quietly, if you simply watch your thoughts, if you stop for a moment and stop trying to control life, you will start to feel a pulse inside, a subtle vibration, a new quality of awareness that feels almost like someone tapping on your shoulder from inside your chest. "Look here," it whispers. "Wake up." I was once asked, "Osho, what happens when someone starts becoming intuitive?" I said, "They stop believing in the lies of the world." Because the intuitive person sees what others miss. They see the falseness behind social masks. They see the fear hiding beneath anger. They see the longing behind the smile. They see the suffering behind the ambition. And most dangerous of all, they begin to see the truth of their own life. They can no longer deceive themselves. And this is where transformation begins. This is the moment I am telling you not to ignore, because once you recognize the truth, you cannot return to sleep. You may try, you may pretend, you may distract yourself with work, entertainment, relationships, addictions, but once the flame of awareness has touched you, the old life becomes too small. It becomes unbearable. It becomes a costume that no longer fits, and you must choose, either keep pretending or allow yourself to become real. Most people choose pretending. It feels safer, it feels familiar, But you, if you are still listening, if something inside you is still awake right now, then I know pretending is no longer enough for you. You are tired of repeating the same patterns, tired of being who others want you to be, tired of carrying the expectations of your parents, your culture, your past. You want something more, not more money, not more success, more being, more depth, more presence. This desire is the first proof that the mysterious is calling you. When people feel this call, they often think something is wrong with them. They fear they are losing control. They fear they are losing identity. They fear they are losing the world they built. And they are right. You are losing the old. But what you will gain is something you have never tasted before. You will gain a life lived with clarity instead of confusion, courage instead of fear, awareness instead of sleep. But you must be willing to face yourself. You must be willing to let the unknown enter your life. You must be willing to dissolve all the lies you told yourself to survive. And the first step begins with not ignoring what you are feeling right now. This curiosity, this restlessness, this subtle vibration inside your chest, this sense that something more is calling you. This is the beginning of spiritual intelligence. Pause for a moment and notice, why are you here listening to me? Why did this video call you out of millions of others? Why this message? Why now? Do you think it is random? There are no accidents in consciousness. The moment you are ready, the teacher appears. The moment you are open, the message arrives. The moment you stop running, truth finds you. And this moment, this one, is not an accident. When the mysterious begins to touch your life, everything that was once stable starts to tremble. You feel as if some invisible hand is rearranging your inner world, removing everything that no longer belongs to you. And you panic because you have been taught to cling. You cling to beliefs, to relationships, to identities, to stories. But the mysterious does not care about your stories. It cares only about your truth. And truth is always dangerous to the false self you have been carrying like a burden. Don't ignore this trembling. Don't ignore this sensation that something deep inside you is shifting. This is how transformation begins. When the earth shakes below your feet, the mind wants to grab onto something, but you must learn to stand in the shaking without reaching for the old. This is where intuition becomes your only compass. Logic has no power here. Society has no power here. Only your inner vision can guide you through this sacred chaos. When I speak to you about intuition, I am not speaking of superstition, of imagination, of fantasies. Intuition is clarity without thinking. It is knowledge without effort. It is your consciousness seeing the world directly, without the filters of education, culture, fear, or ambition. The intuitive person is not guessing. The intuitive person is perceiving. You Americans admire intelligence, but you forget that intelligence is not just analysis. Intelligence is sensitivity, and sensitivity is the doorway to intuition. A man asked me once, "Osho, why do I feel things before they happen? Why do I sense the emotions of others so deeply? Why do I pick up energies that no one else notices?" And I told him, "Because you are becoming alive. The dead cannot feel. Only the living can." Most people live like stones. They move, they speak, they work, but they are not alive in the deeper sense. They are numb. And numbness is the greatest disease of your time. You have been trained to numb yourself. Your schooling teaches you to memorize, not to feel. Your culture teaches you to perform, not to be. Your society teaches you to function, not to awaken. You have been rewarded for being predictable and punished for being mysterious. And now when your intuition begins to wake up, you don't know what to do with it. You feel overwhelmed, confused, even frightened. This confusion is a gift, because when you are confused, it means the old knowledge is collapsing. And only when the old collapses can the new enter. Confusion is the space between the known and the unknown, the doorway through which transformation walks into your life. If you never feel confused, you will never grow. Only those who take the risk of stepping into the strange, the paradoxical, the uncertain, discover the truth. You may think you are alone in this experience, but I tell you, countless people feel these inner shifts, but stay silent, afraid to appear irrational. They feel the mysterious knocking on their hearts, but they pretend nothing is happening. They feel a deep discomfort in the life they built, but they tell themselves to push through. They feel an inner voice whispering, "This is not the real you," but they choose to ignore it, and by ignoring it, they slowly kill a part of their soul. Don't ignore this voice. Don't ignore the discomfort. It is a sign that you are outgrowing who you used to be. Intuitive people are often misunderstood. Others will call you strange, too sensitive, too dramatic, too emotional, too quiet, too intense. They will project their own fear onto you, because you remind them of what they are running away from. The intuitive person is a mirror, and most people cannot bear to look at themselves. They prefer certainty, even if it is false, over truth, even if it is liberating. But if you are here, if you are still listening, then something inside you is stronger than the fear of being misunderstood. Something in you is ready to walk alone if necessary. Something in you is hungry for authenticity. And the mysterious respects only the courageous. It opens itself only to those who are willing to question everything they have been told. You must understand, the spiritual journey is not about becoming something new. It is about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. Society trains you to be useful. Spirituality invites you to be yourself. Society tells you to be productive. Spirituality tells you to be present. Society tells you to be someone. Spirituality tells you to be no one, just awareness. And this is why intuitive people seem mysterious. They are no longer controlled by the social mind. They do not follow the predictable patterns. They do not fit into categories. They do not seek approval. They move according to an inner rhythm. They speak from a place of depth. They feel life in its rawness. And because they feel deeply, they understand deeply. Their very presence becomes unsettling for those who live on the surface. America is a land obsessed with image. The perfect smile, the perfect body, the perfect career. But behind these images, there is immense loneliness. People are surrounded by noise, yet starving for meaning. Surrounded by entertainment, yet thirsty for silence. Surrounded by opportunities, yet unable to touch their own souls. This is why, when intuition begins to rise, it shocks them. It feels like an intruder breaking into the house of their carefully curated lives. But intuition is not an intruder. It is the rightful owner. The soul knocking on the door that has been locked for too long. There will be moments when you feel pulled towards something for no logical reason. A decision, a person, a path, a sudden knowing. You may feel a strange energy in your chest, or a quiet certainty in your stomach, or a gentle pressure in your heart. Follow it. The mind will resist. The mind will argue. The mind will shout. But the mind has been wrong countless times. Your intuition has never betrayed you. You only realize this later. When intuition speaks, it does not shout, it whispers, and only those who have cultivated inner silence can hear it clearly. If you want to deepen this mysterious quality within you, you must learn to sit in silence. Just sit. No expectations, no goals, no desire for results. Sit as if you are meeting yourself for the first time. In that silence, intuition becomes a flame. Slowly, you begin to sense the world differently. You start seeing meaning where others see randomness. You start feeling connections that others dismiss. You start understanding people without needing explanations. And one day, a moment arrives, a moment so subtle, so quiet, in which you realize that life has been guiding you all along. This realization changes everything. When this realization dawns, that life has always been whispering to you, guiding you, shaping your path long before you had the courage to notice, something fundamental shifts inside you. You no longer walk through life as a stranger to yourself. You begin to trust the invisible currents that have always been moving beneath the surface. And this trust is the beginning of real freedom. People often ask me, Osho, what does it feel like to live intuitively? And I tell them, it feels like finally opening your eyes after living for years in a fog. Suddenly the world is not chaotic. It is meaningful. Suddenly every encounter has significance. Every challenge is a teaching. Every coincidence is a message. You stop seeing life as a series of accidents and start seeing it as a living conversation between you and existence itself. But the modern mind resists this. The American mind especially has been trained to worship control. You want guarantees, plans, strategies, proofs. You want to know what will happen before you take a step. But life does not work that way. The mysterious has no interest in your plans. It flows according to its own intelligence, which is infinitely wiser than your calculated thinking. To live intuitively means to surrender, not to fate, not to destiny, but to your own deeper consciousness. It means allowing your inner voice to have authority over your fears. It means moving even when the path is not clear. speaking your truth, even when your voice trembles, choosing what feels alive instead of what feels safe. And this is where most people hesitate. They say they want transformation, but they cling to the comfort of their limitations. They say they want clarity, but they cannot let go of their illusions. They say they want to awaken, but they continue to sleep because dreaming feels easier than opening their eyes. Intuitive awareness forces you to confront everything you have avoided. You begin to notice the relationships that drain your spirit. You begin to see the patterns you inherited from your parents, patterns that never belonged to you. You recognize the lies you told yourself to avoid pain. And the most shocking discovery of all, you realize how much of your life has been lived out of fear instead of freedom. This realization can break you, but sometimes breaking is necessary. A seed must break before it can sprout. Your old identity must crack open before your true self can breathe. The mysterious does not destroy you. It destroys what is false in you. When this begins to happen, you may feel isolated. You may feel misunderstood. Friends may drift away. Family may question you. Society may label you as uncertain, unstable, irresponsible. But understand this. They are reacting not to your transformation, but to the reflection of themselves they see in you. Your awakening exposes their sleep. Your intuition exposes their fear. Your courage exposes their conformity. A man who begins to live authentically becomes dangerous to the social order because he cannot be manipulated. He cannot be intimidated. He cannot be bribed by approval or controlled by rejection. And society has no idea what to do with such a person. So it calls him mysterious, irrational, rebellious. Yes, it's all good qualities, because only those who are mysterious to society are true to themselves. I remember once telling someone, when you stop living according to others' expectations, you become unpredictable. And when you become unpredictable, you reclaim your wildness. And this wildness is essential for spiritual growth. Not wildness in the sense of chaos, but wildness in the sense of authenticity, a life lived from the inside out, not the outside in. As your intuition deepens, you start to perceive layers of existence that others miss entirely. You feel energies in people before they speak. You sense truth behind words. You can see when someone is lying to themselves, even if they believe they are honest. You walk into a room and immediately feel whether the atmosphere is nourishing or toxic. You begin to move away from anything that numbs you and toward anything that awakens you. This sensitivity is not a weakness. It is your greatest strength, but it requires courage, because feeling deeply means you can no longer hide behind distractions. You cannot numb yourself with constant noise. You cannot run from your emotions. You cannot lie to your own heart. Sensitivity demands presence. Sensitivity demands honesty. Sensitivity demands that you meet life without armor. Most people build walls to protect themselves from feeling too much, but in protecting themselves from pain, they also protect themselves from depth, from beauty, from connection, from truth. They live behind a mask and call it lifestyle. They live behind routines and call it stability. They live behind fear and call it safety. This is the tragedy of the modern world. People are alive biologically, but dead spiritually. But once the mysterious touches you, once your intuition begins to open, those walls start to crumble. You can no longer pretend that surface-level living satisfies you. You can no longer silence the hunger inside. You want something real, something raw, something sacred, something that awakens your entire being. And here is the paradox. The more intuitive you become, the more ordinary life feels extraordinary. A simple walk becomes a meditation. A conversation becomes a revelation. A moment of silence becomes a doorway to infinity. You begin to see the sacred in the mundane, the extraordinary in the ordinary, the infinite in every moment. This is the true miracle. Not walking on water, not healing the sick, not performing magic. The true miracle is seeing reality as it is without the blindfold of conditioning. The true miracle is being fully alive. But let me warn you, awakening is not comfortable. Growth is not gentle. Truth is not polite. When you begin to live intuitively, life will test you. It will strip away what no longer serves you. It will confront you with your shadows. It will push you out of your comfort zones, not to punish you, but to free you. You will have to choose between the familiar and the true, between comfort and consciousness, between safety and transformation, and this choice will determine the direction of your entire life. Do not ignore this moment. Something inside you already knows that the old ways are falling apart. Something inside you is already preparing for the new. You may not understand it yet, but you can feel it. In your chest, in your breath, in the quiet moments when the world stops and you are left alone with yourself. This is the mysterious calling you. When the mysterious calls you, it does not shout, it does not demand, it does not threaten, it simply waits. Existence is infinitely patient. It knows that sooner or later every soul must return to itself, but for you the moment has already begun. Otherwise you would not be here listening to my words. There are billions of people in the world, and yet this message reached you. Not because of an algorithm, not because of chance, but because something inside you was already opening. This is how life works. When the student is ready, the path begins to reveal itself. And the path often begins in the most uncomfortable places, in dissatisfaction, in emptiness, in confusion. Americans are terrified of emptiness. You chase it away with entertainment, with goals, with distractions, with endless activity. You fill every silence with noise. But emptiness is not your enemy, it is your invitation. Emptiness is the space where your true nature can breathe again. When intuition awakens, the first thing it shows you is what is no longer aligned with your being. It is ruthless in its clarity. It will reveal the relationships that feel heavy, the job that suffocates you, the habits that drain your energy, the identities you have outgrown. And part of you will resist, because the mind hates letting go. The mind wants guarantees, familiar patterns, predictable outcomes, but the mysterious wants your freedom, not your predictability. You may notice that you start questioning things you once accepted blindly. You begin to see how much of your life was chosen unconsciously, because others expected it, because culture demanded it, because fear insisted on it. You start recognizing how many decisions were made not from clarity, but from conditioning. And once you see this, you cannot unsee it. You cannot go back to pretending that the old life fits you. It is like wearing a pair of shoes that were comfortable 10 years ago. Now they are too tight, but you keep wearing them because you are afraid of being barefoot. Intuition is the moment you realize the shoes are hurting you. Awakening is the courage to take them off. And transformation is learning to walk without needing them. Many of you feel a restlessness, a sense that life has more to offer than what you have been taught to chase. You feel a subtle pressure in your chest, as if something wants to bloom but is stuck behind layers of fear. You feel moments of clarity where everything becomes sharp and simple, followed by moments of doubt, where you question your sanity. This is all part of the process. Awakening is not linear. It comes in waves, illumination, confusion, expansion, contraction. Your intuition is not growing, it is returning. You were born intuitive,